If you got your Bible, and I hope you do, I want you to turn with me to 1 Kings chapter 18. 1 Kings is where we're going to be this morning. If you're like, 1 Kings, where in the world is that? Look in the table of contents. It is the best place to find the different books of the Bible. So 1 Kings 18 is where we're going to be. We are in week 3 of a series that we're calling The Mountains Are Calling. And what we've been doing is we've just been looking at different mountaintop experiences that different people have been having all throughout the scripture. Like if you read the book, the Bible, like there is some incredible stories that take place in here. Many of them take place on these like mountaintop experiences. Like there's something about getting away and going to a place that God calls us to. And a lot of times in the Bible, it's up on top of a mountain, and he does something really incredible, really amazing. And so the first week we looked at Abraham and Isaac at Mount Moriah, the God who provides. And then last week, we looked at Moses in Mount Sinai, the God who is holy. And then this week with Elijah, we're going to be looking at Mount Carmel, the God who is trustworthy. Now, one of my favorite things that happens right now in the life of my family is I love to have conversations with my boys regarding, most of the time it's regarding baseball. And so we talk about their favorite baseball teams. We talk about my favorite baseball teams. Like we have hit a point in their relationship and my relationship where they now know more about baseball than I do. Like they'll ask me all the time about different players that are on different teams. And I'm like, you actually think that I know that? Hey, Dad, did you see that so-and-so got traded? I'm like, no. Unless it happened with the New York Yankees, there's no reason to pay attention to anything else. Carl, you didn't amen on that one. No, he's a Red Sox fan, so we boo him. There's just something about like I just don't know. Like we've hit that point, and so they'll talk about Aaron Judge, they'll talk about Shohei Ohtani or whatever, like any of the famous baseball players, and then usually they'll talk about how incredible the pitching is, or how incredible the hitting is, or the batting, and all those kind of things. And I'll usually stop and I'll go something like I'll play the dad card, and I'll be, they had to work hard to get to that moment right, because sometimes I think that my kids. I think that we often think that when we see someone at the pinnacle of their career or their athletic ability, like we think they just somehow got to that point without any real work ethic. And we'll think to ourselves, I want to get there. But sometimes I'm afraid that we're not willing to put in the work to get there. Like we forget the valleys that player may have went through. We forget the highs and lows of that. So whether it's baseball or whether it's something else, we can look at someone and go, man, I want to be that. And so my fear at times going through this series is that we'll look at the Abraham and Isaacs, we'll look at the Moses, we'll look at even the Elijah this morning, and we'll think to ourselves, I want to be there without really understanding how they got there. And so I want to make sure with Elijah this morning, before we even jump into our story, like I want to make sure we understand who he is and how he got to the point that he got to so that God could use him. Elijah, we don't know a ton about the guy. Like to be honest, like he's in this really cool story we know a little bit about, but we don't know like his growing up story. We don't know. We do know that his name, Elijah, means my God is the Lord. But he has no formal education. He's not from a respected family. Like, he's not super talented. So how in the world does he become the man that God uses on Mount Carmel to do some incredible, incredible things? Here's the catch. Before God can use Elijah, Elijah's going to have to go through a little bit of a period of brokenness. He's going to have to go through some valleys before he can get to the mountain. Now, let me just pause here and let's just address the elephant in the room. None of us like that, do we? Like if I were to say to you, listen, we have this mountaintop moment that you're going to have in a decade, but for the next decade, you're going to have to go through some valleys before we can get to that mountaintop. None of you are going to be like, yay, right? Like we don't like the valleys. But it's often the valleys that God uses to get us to a point where he can use us. Can I give you a couple of examples? I've never really understood, and follow me, don't judge me real quick. I've never really understood depression. Like my personality lends itself to being pretty even keel. Like I've shared this about a couple months ago. Like my highs are here, my lows are here. Like I fluctuate right in here. It drives my wife crazy. because she'll do something incredible for me. I'm like, that was awesome. And she's like, can you show me a little bit more excitement? And I'll be like, yay? Like, I don't know what you want. Like, that's just my personality, right? I got married to a girl who, especially high school and college, really struggled with depression. Like so much so that on a couple of occasions, did some damage to her body, and on one occasion ended up in the hospital. She has worked through so much of that. But this massive valley that she went through is definitely not something that she wanted to go through. It wasn't something that she just thoroughly enjoyed. But a couple of different things have happened out of that valley. Number one, and just in case you're wondering, Caroline has worked through so much. If you were to see her back in her high school days, college days, to where she is today, you're like, she's a completely different girl. And yes, she said I could share the story. But one thing that happened in the midst of that valley, the amount of young people that she has been able to minister to who struggle with depression. I cannot tell you how many people she's been able to sit down with and go, listen, I understand. The Lord had me walk through this season of my life as well. The second thing that came out of that, again, before I even knew her, I'm a better pastor. Because I get to sit down with my wife and go, help me understand. Walk me through what's going on in your mind. Walk me through the triggers that can get you from point A to point B. Help me understand that. A valley that she would never, ever, 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 ever want to go through again. A valley that she didn't want to go through the first time has been an opportunity for the Lord to use her in incredible ways. Let me share another one. I feel like, you guys might not agree with this statement, but I feel like I'm a pretty smart guy. Okay, nobody agreed. Okay, I feel like I'm a fairly smart guy. But do you know what I'm really horrible at? Standardized test. I'm horrible at them. The thought of them just makes me want to start shaking. So high school, again, I get A's and B's all throughout high school. I think I had my first B maybe sophomore year, got a couple B's, all throughout, A's and B's. But do you know what kind of tests you have to take in order to get into college? ACT, SAT. The first time I took the ACT, you want to know what I got? 15. Second time I took the ACT, you want to know what I got? 16. I was proud of that 16. Third time I took the ACT, you want to know what I got? 17. My parents were like, you want to take it again? I was like, no, I'm done. So it's time to apply for college. And the college that all my friends went to rejected me. Couldn't get in. All my high school buddies, the guys, the girls that I ran with, all went to one school, they rejected me. I applied to another school, they rejected me. How do you think I felt when all the other seniors are talking about where they're going to college, and it's April, it's May, and I start college my freshman year in August, and I still have no clue where I'm gonna go? So I got into one school, and the only way that they allowed me to go to school is by being forced to take 2 remedial classes my freshman year. I was in the classes with a bunch of high school seniors. How do you think it felt walking through the valley? Looking back, it doesn't seem to be that big a deal. Looking back, even as I was recalling the story a little bit, just preparing for the sermon, looking back, it's just everything worked out fine. But in the moment, it seems like the direction that my life is going isn't the direction that I thought it was going to go my freshman, sophomore, junior year. Halfway through my senior year, I just assumed this is where I'm going to go. And God completely took me on a completely different direction. But not a single day goes by that I'm not grateful for that 15. Why? Because that college, those professors, those people that I got to connect with, my future wife, completely changed my walk with Jesus. I completely challenged everything that I thought. I thought, man, I'm living for Christ, and I would go to classes, and they would stir my affection for the Lord like never before. Not a day goes by that I'm not grateful for that 15. See, don't run from the valleys. See what God is trying to teach you in the midst of them. It's possible that God's trying to get your attention when you don't make that baseball team. It's possible that God's trying to get your attention when you don't get the job that you swore you were the best candidate for. Could it be that he's trying to get your attention so that he can actually use you the way that he wants to use you? You see, before Elijah went up on the mountain, he had to go through some valleys. The first valley that Elijah had to go through is a little place called Cherith. You don't have to turn there, it should be on the screens, but this is 1 Kings 17. It says this. It says, then the word of the Lord came to him, Elijah, and said, leave here. The reason why he's leaving here is because of a king named King Ahab. We'll talk about him in just a minute. But he says, God says, leave here, turn eastward, hide at the Wadi Cherith, where it enters the Jordan. You are to drink from the wadi, and I have commanded the ravens to provide for you there. So he proceeded to do what the Lord commanded. Elijah left and lived at the Wadi Cherith as he entered the Jordan. Now, Cherith, it literally means to cut off or to cut down. So God has taken him to a place where he wants to cut off or cut down some of Elijah's pride so that he can use him. Let this be a life lesson. If you're ever being fed by the ravens, you know your life is at an all-time low. Like if you're relying on the birds for your food, yeah, it doesn't get much lower than that, does it? Now, we're not sure how long he was here being fed by the ravens, but eventually God takes him to a new place. Look at verse 8 on the screen. Then the word of the Lord came to him, get up, go to Zarephath that belongs to Sidon and stay there. Look, I have commanded a woman who is a widow to provide for you there. Zarephath, it means to melt. So God is telling Elijah, you're going to be cut down and now we're going to be melted. But he no longer had to rely on the ravens for the food. He had a widow to do that. Like, you know that he's got to be thinking, when is this season going to be over? Like when are we finally going to get to a place where you can use me? When are we going to finally get to a place where I'm not relying on the ravens, the widows? Like, when are we going to get to that place? The season does eventually change, but it doesn't change the way that Elijah wants. There's a king named Ahab in the Bible who is horrible, like the worst king of any of the kings. And so because of that, God sends a drought to the people of Israel during Ahab's reign. Israel had 19 kings from Solomon to the death of Solomon, and none of them were good. Ahab was the worst of all 19 of those kings. 1 Kings chapter 16 says this, but Ahab, son of Omri, did what was evil in the Lord's sight more than all who were before him. And if you knew all those who were before him, you would realize Ahab is a really, really, really bad guy because those before him were really, really, really bad kings. This is where we find Elijah at the beginning of chapter 18. Okay, so let's pick it up. 1 Kings 18. This is what it says. After a long time, the word of the Lord came to Elijah in the 3rd year. Go and present yourself to Ahab. I'm going to send rain on the surface of the land. So Elijah went to present himself to Ahab. The famine was severe in Samaria, and Ahab called Obadiah, who was in charge of the palace. Obadiah was a man who greatly feared the Lord and took 100 prophets and hid them, 50 men to a cave, and provided them with food and water when Jezebel slaughtered the Lord's prophets. Now, remember how I said Ahab was the worst king in Israel's history. The problem was he was married to a woman who was more wicked than he was. Like, you got to know this relationship is so messed up. But Jezebel, man, she's just so much worse. At one point during Ahab's reign, just to kind of pick up on it with just what happened, she gathered all of the Lord's prophets together and had them killed. Obadiah was so just distraught by this that he actually gathered about 100 of those prophets to try to save them so that they wouldn't be killed. That's what we're just talking about. Verse 5, Ahab said to Obadiah, go throughout the land to every spring and to every wadi. Perhaps we'll find grass so we can keep the horses and mules alive and not have to destroy any cattle. They divided the land between them in order to cover it. Ahab went one way by himself and Obadiah went the other way by himself. While Obadiah was walking along the road, Elijah suddenly met him. When Obadiah recognized him, he fell face down and said, it is you, my Lord Elijah. It is I, he replied. Go and tell the Lord Elijah is here. And Obadiah said, what sin have I committed that you're handing your servant over to Ahab to be put to death? I mean, as you can expect, Obadiah is a little fearful that Elijah would ask him to go talk to king. And so Obadiah's like, what have I done to deserve this, right? Verse 16, Obadiah went to meet Ahab and told him. Then Ahab went to meet with Elijah. When Ahab saw Elijah, Ahab said to him, "It is you, the one ruining Israel." And he replied, "I've not ruined Israel, but you and your father's family have, because you have abandoned the Lord's commands and followed the Baals." All right, so here's the question. Why would Elijah do this? Like, why would Elijah be willing to go and stand in front of King Ahab, knowing very well that the minute he does so, Ahab's probably gonna kill him? Like, that's what he's gotta be thinking. Like why in the world would he want to do this? Remember what Elijah had gone through in Cherith and in Zephyrath. Like, he had gone through some valleys. Like, he had seen the lows of lows. He had allowed God to kind of use him in those moments. And so now he's trusting God. Like, he's trusting that the Lord, wherever you send me, you're gonna honor your word. And so he's willing to do that. And here's what God asked Elijah to do. This is a crazy story. Verse 19. "Now summon all Israel to meet me at Mount Carmel, along with the 450 prophets of Baal, the 400 prophets of Asherah, who eat at Jezebel's table." Baal was the storm god. He was always seen with a lightning bolt in his hand. That was to the deity. Asherah was the mother goddess of fertility, and they were kind of like worshiped together in Israel at this point. So Ahab, in verse 20, summoned all the Israelites and gathered the prophets at Mount Carmel. Then Elijah approached all the people and said this, "How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him, but if Baal, follow him." But the people didn't answer him with the word. If you want to know why Elijah is willing to approach the king, here it is. Because the people of Israel have been wavering for a long time. Like, they've been straddling that line. They've had like one foot over here saying something with their words, but then over here they're actually worshiping the Baals. They're worshiping the Asherahs. The same idea is, if you ever see, a lot of my illustrations come from Little League Baseball because I do a lot of Little League Baseball, but it's the same idea as a kid who steps in the batter's box and they're waiting for the pitch. And they seem so confident they have it there, and the second the pitch comes, they immediately step out. Right? It's like they're fearful of the ball, so they step back in and they get back ready, and they're here and they're ready, and then even before the ball comes out, they pop out. This is the illustration. This is what he's getting at. Israel partially wanted to serve Yahweh, but also partially wanted to embrace the culture of their day. Here's how it plays out in our day. I want to live for God, but I don't want God to really tell me what to do. Like, I want to still be my own person. I want to still be able to live the way that I want to live. I'm willing to follow God, but if it's on my terms, I love God, but I don't want that to change the way that I talk to other people. Like the idea that you can love God, but it changes nothing about your life, how you live, what you do, is an absurd thought. But it's the exact line of thinking that the people of Israel are having right now. One foot in, one foot out. One foot in, one foot out. So here's what Elijah does. Verse 22. Then Elijah said to the people, "I am the only remaining prophet of the Lord, but Baal's prophets, 450 men. So let's do this. Let 2 bulls be given to us. They are to choose 1 bull for themselves, cut it in pieces, place it on the wood, but not light the fire. I will prepare the other bull and place it on the wood, but not light the fire. Then you call on the name of your God, and I'll call on the name of the Lord. The God who answers with fire, he's God." And all the people said, "That's fine." Then Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, "Since you are so numerous, choose for yourself 1 bull and prepare it first. Then call on the name of God, but don't light the fire." So Elijah, he's like, "Listen, you've had 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You say you worship Lord, but you worship the Baals, the Asherahs. Like, let's just do this then." Like, he sets the stage. It's also worth noting that this entire scene, what Elijah does, how he lays this thing out, would play into the Baal's strengths, right? It would play into everything. The storm god, surely if there's anything he can do, if he's always seen with the lightning bolt, surely the Baal god, like, he can send lightning down and light the fire. Verse 26. So they took the bull that he gave them, they prepared it, called on the name of Baal from morning until noon, saying, "Baal, answer us." But there was no sound. No one answered. Then they danced around the altar that they made. At noon, Elijah mocked them. He said, "Shout loudly, for he's a god." Maybe he's thinking it over. Maybe he's wandered away. Maybe he's on the road. Perhaps he's sleeping and will wake up. They shouted loudly, and they cut themselves with knives and spears according to their custom until blood gushed over them. All afternoon, they kept on raving until the offering of the evening sacrifice, but there was no sound. No one answered. No one paid attention. All right. So before we jump in and look at what Elijah does, let's just, it would be amiss if we didn't talk about some of the lessons that we can learn from the false prophets. It would be amiss if we didn't stop and just draw out a couple of lessons to be learned when you play with sin. All right, I got 3 for us. All right, lessons to be learned from playing with sin. Here's the first. It leaves you empty. They cried out, they begged, nothing. No answer. This is like do you guys, if you're over the age of maybe like 25, do you remember the Verizon commercials? Can you hear me now? You remember where, like he would walk all over the place. He's like, can you hear me now? Good. Like this is the exact opposite. They're like, can you hear me? And the God's like, no answer. Like they did this from morning until noon. Like here's the lesson. Longer prayers don't mean better prayers, especially when you're praying to the wrong God. I had a mentor in my life who used to always say to us, listen, when we start praying, this isn't an opportunity for you to catch up on your prayer life. Like if you haven't been praying, that's on you. Like let's get to that business, let's pray. Longer prayers don't necessarily mean better prayers, especially if you're praying to the wrong God. I say this to us probably once a month, and it's because I don't want us to forget it, but sin always overpromises and underdelivers. You think that sin is gonna satisfy, but it always leaves you icky and empty. Like why is it that we think more, bigger, better is somehow gonna fulfill us, right? Like most of us, it's not that we wanna go from like my little Toyota Corolla to a Lamborghini, although that would be awesome. It's most of the time, it's just like, man, if I just had a little bit better car. Most of us don't wanna go from the house that we live in to like a 10,000 square foot house, unless you're my kids, then they do. But apart from them, like most of us, man, we just go, listen, if I just had maybe 500 more square feet, if I just had 1,000 more square feet, if I just had a little bit more money to put into it to make it just a little bit nicer, it'll somehow satisfy. And I just want to lovingly say to us, if you're not satisfied with where God has you right now, more stuff isn't going to satisfy you. It's just not. Sin always leaves you empty. All right, here's the second one. Your best dance moves can't save you. I unfortunately was not blessed with the gift of rhythm. I just can't. Like if you ask me to move a foot and a hand at the same time, it just can't happen. The only thing my dance moves are good is embarrassing my kids. Like it's it, and I love to do that. And so it's so much fun to embarrass them. But apart from that, I got nothing. Did you see what they did? Like it hit a point where not yelling out at the altar was good enough. They're like, listen, we got some dance moves, so what if we just start dancing around? Maybe the Baal, maybe the God, maybe he'll hear us. The prophets of Baal were trying everything. Here's the problem. It was all about them. They wanted to show their God their devotion. And if like somehow, maybe like if their devotion would please Baal, then he would show up. This is classic works-based salvation, right? This is, if I do this over here, then God can love me over here. If I do this over here, then God will show up over here. Like, listen, no matter how skilled you are, it pales into comparison to the God of the Bible. Like, the beautiful thing about the God of the Bible is all that has been done for salvation that could be done has been done. All of it. Like there is nothing that you and I have to do. We don't have to somehow try to like impress God as if he's impressed with us. As if I have something to offer. The prophets of Baal, and they thought they had something to offer. And if we can just do this, if we could just dance really well, if we can just shout loud, maybe he'll show up. And then like, maybe my favorite verse in all the Bible, verse 27, like where Elijah starts to mock the people a little bit. Shout louder. Maybe he's thinking it over. Maybe he's just kind of wandered away. My favorite, perhaps he's sleeping. The idea being, like he's saying all these things, the whole point is Yahweh isn't thinking it over. Yahweh hasn't wandered away. Yahweh isn't sleeping. Your best dance moves can't save you. And here's the third. Sin hurts you both mentally and physically. Like verses 29 and 30 are really hard for me. Like I chuckle at the mocking, but then I read these verses and I'm like, I feel for them. Let me just read them again. Verse 28, they shouted loudly. They cut themselves with knives and spears according to their custom until blood gushed over them. All afternoon, they kept raving until the offering of the evening sacrifice, but there was no sound, no answer. No one paid attention. Sin, hear me on this. Sin destroys your common sense. Sin feeds your ego. Sin crushes who you are. Sin blinds you to who God is. Sin convinces you that everything is normal when everything in your life is not normal. Like it's the reason why when you have that friend who starts dating that guy or girl that you know is not good for them, you're like, why would you ever stoop to that level? Why would you ever go to that level? Because sin's blinded them. I mean, you ever seen that friend that pushes away all the people in their life that go to church? You ever had that friend that took that job that you know is not good for them? And everyone's trying to tell them, this isn't good for you, this isn't the way, and they just won't listen. It's because sin convinces us that things are normal when they're not normal. You see, sin destroys us both mentally and physically. But luckily for us, Elijah has some lessons for us too. And this is what he does, verse 30. Then Elijah said to all the people, hey, come near me. So all the people approached him. Then he repaired the Lord's altar that had been torn down. And Elijah took 12 stones according to the number of tribes, the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord had come, saying, Israel will be your name. And he built an altar with those stones in the name of the Lord. Then he made a trench around the altar large enough to hold about 4 gallons. Next, he arranged the wood. He cut up the bull. He placed it on the wood. He said, fill 4 water pots with water and pour it on the offering to be burned and on the wood. Then he said, a second time. They did it a second time. And then he said, a third time. And they did it a third time. So the water ran all around the altar, even filled the trench with water. At that time, for offering of the evening sacrifice, the prophet Elijah approached the altar and said this, Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, today let it be known that you are the God in Israel, and I am your servant, and that at your word I have done all these things. Answer me, Lord, answer me, so that these people will know that you, the Lord, are God, and that you have turned their hearts back. Then the Lord's fire fell and consumed the burnt offering, the wood, the stones, the dust, and it licked up the water that was in the trench. When all the people saw it, they fell face down and said, the Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. Like think about this story. Like this is an incredible scene that's happening up on this mountain. Don't miss it. Don't be so enamored with the story that you miss what's happening here. The prophets of Baal have done everything in their power to get the lightning to come down and then nothing. And then Elijah prays, and the Lord's fire fell and consumed up the burnt offering, the wood and the stones. Don't miss it. In the same way that we pulled out some lessons from the prophet of Baal, let's pull out some lessons from Elijah. Here's the first lesson. Relationships, relationship, relationship. Like I cannot overstate before any of this unfolds, before any of this scene had unfolded, Elijah had been walking with God through the ups and downs of his life. He trusted God in Cherith with the ravens. He obeyed God in Zarephath. Everything in Elijah's life speaks to him trusting God. See, we want all the information without doing the work, without doing the study. We want the ability to look good, to look a certain way. We want the ability for other people to look at us and think, wow, they're just so naturally talented without actually any practice. We we want God to bless us without actually having a relationship with him. Like I'm fearful that we go, God, I want to hear from you, but we never pick this book up. I'm fearful that we get frustrated with God because he doesn't speak to us the way that we want him to speak to us. And he's like, listen, I have spoken. I am speaking to my people. Like it's relationships. Can I ask you this morning, what does your relationship with God look like? And listen, I'm not asking this question here. This isn't a guilt trip question. This is a maybe the Lord's convicting you kind of question. Like, what does your relationship with God look like? And here's a really beautiful thing. If right now you're here this morning, you're like, man, my relationship, non-existent. The beautiful thing in the God of the Bible isn't waiting for you to somehow clean up your life to have a relationship with you. Right now, where you're at, with all your questions, with all your insecurities, with all your, I don't think I have the answer to that, with all of that, he's going relationship. I want a relationship with you. Stop pushing me away. What's your relationship with God look like? Here's the second thing we learn from Elijah. He honors God at all cost. There is nothing in Elijah's prayer that is like me-centric, him-centric. He praises God for his faithfulness throughout the generations to Abraham, to Isaac, to Israel. Like he then goes and he repairs the altar before anything happens. Check this, before anything has happened, before God has shown up in any way, like with the fire, like before any of that, Elijah honors God. You know how often I think that, man, God, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. Like, you wonder if that crept into Elijah's mind, like, man, I'm gonna do this, so you better show up. God, I'll speak to my friends about you if you just give me that scholarship that I need. God, I'll go to church if you just bless me with a little bit more money. God, I'll believe in you if you just let me live the life that I want to live. It's this constant, God, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. Elijah was making a fool out of himself and he doesn't care. Like, I just wonder if any point, like as he's doing all this, as he's pouring the water over the wood, if that little thought started to creep in, what if God doesn't show up? Like, I just mocked him. Like, what if God doesn't show up? But here's the thing. Faith isn't the absence of doubt. Faith is choosing to trust and believe even when doubt creeps in. Don't miss it. I'm going to read it again. Faith is not the absence of doubt. Faith is choosing to trust and believe even when the doubt creeps in. I've said this before. We're so good at doubting our faith. I just wish we would doubt our doubts with the same strength that we doubt our faith. Elijah, he honors God even before the fire came down because God had shown his faithfulness when Elijah was in the valley. Here's the third. Even our enemies need God's grace. Think about what Ahab and all the false prophets of Baal had done to Elijah and all of his friends. I don't know about you, but when somebody has mistreated me the way that Ahab has mistreated Elijah, when somebody's mistreated my friends the way that Ahab had mistreated all of Elijah's friends, I just want to go, you're dead to me. Can we just be honest? Isn't that the natural tendency? You're just, I don't want anything to do with you. Yet, Elijah prays that through this event on Mount Carmel, the people will turn their hearts back to God. That's a powerful prayer. C.S. Lewis, who is one of my favorite authors in the world, he wrote this. He said, I have two lists of names in my prayers, those whose conversions I pray and those whose conversions I give thanks. The little trickle of transference from list A to list B is a great comfort. I wish we talked like that now. I don't think I could. How incredible is that? What about your prayer life? You pray like Elijah prays? Let me ask it like this. If God were to answer every single one of your prayers that you prayed over the last 3 months, how many people would be entering the kingdom of heaven? Like if you're gonna answer every single one of your prayers, everything. The point, how me-centric are your prayers and how kingdom-centric are your prayers? I just wonder what would happen if a people like us in this room were to change our prayers from me-centric to kingdom-centric. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I just wonder how the city of Syracuse would be transformed if our prayers were kingdom-centric. I'm not saying never pray for you. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm just saying if every one of your prayers are all about you, all about people that you're connected to, and not about people outside of your family, like I just think we're missing something. Elijah, in the midst of just a horrific situation where, man, his friends have been killed, and he looks and goes, I want to pray for these people. I want to pray that they would turn their hearts back to God. You know, Elijah's mountaintop moment might seem impossible to you. Like you might hear the story and you just start thinking like, man, lightning soaked up the wood, like in front of tons of other people. Like that would never happen. Two thoughts. Number one, his mountaintop moment isn't just what happened on the mountain, it's also what he went through in the valley. Maybe right now you're in the midst of a valley and God's trying to get your attention, trying to teach you something, and you keep trying to leave. You keep trying to do anything you can to get out of the valley. And God's like, no, I need you to get this. I need you to lean in. I need you to learn this. I need to teach you this, because if I don't teach you this now, when you get on the mountain, you're gonna run your own way. Like, just lean in. Like, could it be? And then here's the second thing. From my experience, other people's mountaintop moments always seem impossible. Like every one of the people that we've looked at so far, and every one that we will look at in this series, Abraham, Moses, today, Elijah, are ordinary people who are used by an extraordinary God. That's the whole point of the stories. Like the whole point isn't to point to the people, it's to point to God and go, look what God did. Look how God used this ordinary person. He let the ravens feed him, he let the widows feed him. Like, look how God used him. It's why Jesus picking the 12 disciples is so incredible to me. Like, listen, if we're having a pick-off and we're choosing teams, we always choose the best, don't we? Like if we're doing kickball, listen, I want the soccer player who's good. I want somebody who can kick the ball. I'm gonna watch him. And if you kick horribly, I ain't picking you on my team. We pick teams, we always pick the people we think will do what? Help our cause. That's not God, how God chooses teams. Jesus, when he goes to pick the 12 disciples, the fishermen of the day, the uneducated, those who can't get beyond a 17 on their ACT, that's who he picks. He's like, what's your SAT score? Oh, you didn't get above 800? Come on, join it. Let's go. The reason why I didn't even use SAT is because I don't even remember how low it was. Like that's how God picks his teams. Jesus, 12 ordinary guys that did extraordinary things for the kingdom. If God can use Abraham, Moses, Elijah, if Jesus can use the 12 disciples, I just wonder what he can do with your life if you will simply let him. See, here's what I think. I think most of us, we would say, yes, I want to be used by God. Like, yes, I so desperately want him in my life, but it's on our terms, right? God, I want you to use me, but I need it to be like this. I want it to impress a few people. Not everybody. I don't need to have everybody, but I need it to impress a little people. Like, God, I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit, but listen, I don't want to leave my home. I need to be comfortable. I need to be around people that I know. I don't want to be in a place that I don't know anybody. I know I need to be around all my family. And then you can use me. Then I'll be used by you. God, I would love to be anywhere, but it needs to be the perfect job. Like, I don't want to have a job that I don't really enjoy. I need to have the perfect job where I go to work every day whistling, like, this is how we work. Like, I just want to go in and just be so happy all the time. My boss, man, he's perfect. He listens to everything I say. He does everything that I say. Like, that's the kind of job that I want. If I get that kind of job, then God, you can use me. God, I just want to go to the perfect school. If you just allow me to go to the perfect school, I'll be used by you. The school that all my friends go to, that's the school that I want to go to. I think the life of Elijah, the reason why he's used by God in this incredible way is because when he was in the valley, he saw the faithfulness and trustworthiness of his God and said, no matter what happens in my life, I'm all in. I just wonder what would happen if Radiant Church would let God use us in mighty and incredible ways. He might just surprise you with taking you to places you never thought possible. It might surprise you that he might open some doors that you never dreamed for your own life. That's the beautiful thing about following God, is the plans that you have for your life pale into comparison to the dreams that he has for your life. And if you follow him, I'm not saying it'll always be easy. I'm not saying that at all. I am saying this, it'll be the greatest adventure that you've ever been on. So church, do you trust him? Do you trust him with everything on his terms? Let's pray.